Hi, it's Amy Thomson with Create, Build, Inspire. Today I'm interviewing somebody who I find very inspiring. Her name is Tamara Brouwer Arnold. I always call her Tamara Fairy because she has a business called The Enchanted Fairy, and she's very intuitive. She's an intuitive healer and an intuitive coach. So I will introduce you to her right now. Good morning, Tamara. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me over at your space.
Anytime.
Perfect. What is it that you do?
All right, so I have a lot of things in my pocket. I'm a multi-passionate person. And so started off as a personal trainer, and over 10 years of doing that, I realized that training is not really a physical body thing. It's an emotional, mental, spiritual thing as well. And so in the last year, I've really kind of connected to my spiritual side, came out of the spiritual closet, as we might say, and I am now an intuitive life coach and healer through the umbrella of the Enchanted Fairy. And the reason it's through the umbrella of the Enchanted Fairy is because my goal now is to help people reconnect to their inner child, to who they were before, everybody, teachers, parents, anyone that they came in contact with told them that they couldn't follow the path that they were put on this earth to do.
Sounds like you and I are very connected in that realm.
Yes.
Yes. It's how we met, actually.
True.
Do you want to share how we met?
I love this story because it's my favorite one to tell. I was, because you have to have a hobby, right? And the reason that I became the Enchanted Fairy was because I had gone into Marie Forleo's B school and I needed to make payments. So my kids were like, you should do craft shows. And I was like, yeah, I should. So I get my hands into some clay and all of a sudden all this fairy stuff is being manifested. And so I was like, cool, like this is amazing. And so I was at one of my craft shows, the Spiritual Warrior Festival, and Amy walks up and she's like, hi. And I'm like, hi. And she's like, a couple of minutes later, she's like, we're going to work together one day. It's like, yeah, we are. Just like that. That's simple. And our connection started then.
Exactly. You know when things are, well, what I find is when I'm in line and I'm aligned, everything lines up. So walking into you and just knowing intuitively, it was very easy.
Well,
things
it's
get
about
easier.
the vibration of energy that we both
Right.
hold as well, right? So when you are in a place where you are doing things that bring your spirit up, bring you joy, enlighten you, your vibration, your energy goes up. And what does that do? It's like a beacon for people that are carrying that same energy to be like, hey, boom, I know you, I connect with you, we're at the same frequency, let's chill, let's do something awesome together. And that's where it kind of expands from there.
Perfect. Would you mind showing us some of the things that you've got?
I would love to.
Perfect.
All right.
Let's go on a tour.
Well, the tour is going to be into the sunlight over here.
I'm okay with that.
All right.
We are outside,
So excited.
and this is where Tamara's going to start to show us some of her fairy gardens, and she has a bunch of other things I'm sure she'll show us.
So none of this stuff I technically really made in this particular garden, but this is my joy. This is my outdoor, like, I come here and I connect to the fairies, who are, of course, nature's spirits, right? And so over the years, you collect certain things. So I love my bird feeder. I got that this year at a craft show. I got my zombie gnome. This zombie gnome protects that fairy door. You'll notice that this birch is especially important to me. This birch is especially important to me because of the three trunks that come, which actually is a fairy ring. So when I placed all my stuff around this particular tree, it was because inside I know that I can go into that fairy realm at any point that I need to through meditation. I recently did a fairy course up at Lilydale, and we had to plant a seed of intention, and I planted it directly in between my two doors here. So I water it when I meditate, I connect to the fairies. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Okay, so this gnome here, or I don't know if you would...
My zombie gnome?
No, the little tiny one in the middle of the doors.
Her,
Who
yes.
is that?
She's just again a guardian for the fairies. She stands there and she invites people to come. It's a safe place. Again, fairies have a little bit of a bad rep sometimes. Like they're mischievous. And they're not. Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
Get that stick out of the way too.
Oh, yeah.
Boom.
That's very pretty. So these doors, do you have a door on each of the trunks?
The front two, yes.
The front,
My sister painted, so I got the one on the right at the craft show the Thanksgiving craft show.
Nice.
And the one on the left, my sister painted. And my sister painted my koi pond as well.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So do you want to show us some of the bowls that you've designed? And
Okay, let's do that.
Okay.
All right, so how this all kind of started was me getting involved in doing craft shows. And I remember vividly the moment I knew I was going to become the Enchanted Fairy. And that was, I was set up at Ridley. It was craft show, beautiful. I had all my fairy stuff that I had made to that point, which included the doors and the houses.
So you make these houses too?
I make these houses, and I make doors as well that go in all your plant surfaces, right?
So cute.
And they invite fairies into every single plant that you have, so you can create a fairy garden anywhere, indoors, outdoors, right? And I was in my life coaching course with Sam Black at Grounded Roots, and you know who she is. And I was working with a guy, and he said, how did this happen? I said, well, you know, it was funny, I had all this stuff, and as people were walking by my table, I could see them looking, and this draw to come over and see the fairy stuff, but something was preventing them, like literally, like there was a wall. They would take kind of like a step forward and be pulled back, and I was watching it all unfold, and I was like, what's going on? Why can't they allow themselves to come over and look at this fun stuff, right? And so he says, what's the difference between them coming over to a table of puppies and them coming over to a table of fairy stuff? I said, in no way, shape, or form were they ever told never to believe in puppies, right? But everybody at some point has said, like heard, majority of people, that you can't believe in fairy tales anymore, right? That there's no magic in the world, you know, that you can't have a magic wand. You can have a magic wand. You can absolutely create magic. You can hold a magic wand in your hand and you can think about what it is and you put intention in there and you have a goal or something that you're dreaming about or something that you wanted and you think about it and you think about it and you call to those fairies and you ask for it, guess what's going to happen? Magic exists. It will come to you. And look how cute they are.
So you make these too. Do you sell these at your shows?
I do. I
didn't see those there.
I did have these here. Because I remember a woman who was moving away and she said, is there magic? And I said, yes. And she was moving, I believe, out east. And she was like, so I can bring this with me and I can hold it and I can wish for things. And I said, yeah, 100%. And she's like, this is the greatest thing I've ever found. And again, she was just like, so, it was a spiritual warrior festival. And she was like, I cannot believe it. Your soul, your passion, everything comes through you. And I was like, wow, thank you. Right? The amount of people and the joy that all of this stuff brings is just astounding. Like, I can't get over it. So then the other day, I made this, and I can see something coming with painted rocks.
Oh, I love painting rocks. Oh my gosh.
Right?
I used to do that all the time.
I know. But the thing is that I started with these fairy bowls, and the idea here is that you would take a fairy house of your choice, and you would bring it home, and you could set it up, and you could have, you know, your own little fairy terrarium in your house, anywhere, anytime. And you have to pick which door really speaks to you and mix and match and things like that. And then recently I did the fairy rock and I can feel the energy coming off of those. And I'm really lucky because Jeff's parents have a cottage on Georgian Bay, which is honestly covered in gorgeous fairy rocks. And so as long as you excavate and you go searching for them. But this is the hobby that created the Enchanted Fairy, and I will tell you one more thing. When I decided to become the Enchanted Fairy, it was hilarious because out of the blue, I sent a mass Facebook out and a mass, everybody on my texting account. I was like, hey, who am I? Am I the fairy goddess, the blessed fairy, or the enchanted fairy? And 90% of the responses came back the enchanted fairy. Nobody asked me why I was asking that question. Nobody said, "This is where is this coming from?" Felt blindsided. Somebody sent back, "This is amazing. I always knew you were a fairy." And I was like, "Okay, universe, I hear you."
People tell me I'm a fairy. Did you know that?
You've told me. I believe it. You sparkle.
Yay.
It's beautiful. I know.
And I've got ears that are fairy ears.
Yes, and I still need to meet, what's her name?
Lauren.
Lauren. I want to meet you. I want to hear all about your fairy sparkle too.
Cool. Is there anything you want to leave with the people who are watching?
I think that it's really, really important that people understand that at the times that we're going through those things where people are telling us not to be who we authentically are, because believe it or not, we know. We know by our late adolescence, early teens. We've tried every sport, club, everything imaginable. You have a good sense of who you are, right? And to really, if you are at that point where you're ready to reconnect to the path that you wanted to be on before people started to steer you off, please, please, please understand it is possible to go back and find your truest calling and your truest passion and to light up that little inner child that's inside you. And it's all about play and it's all about having fun. And you know, it's reconnecting to yourself, truly and completely.
Okay, so I'm not crying, but I got goosebumps because that's exactly what I do. I help people connect with their inner child and their true selves. So thank you so much for sharing, Tamara. This was great. Beautiful video.
Thank you.
Not a lot of editing. I appreciate that.
No.
Okay, thanks.
No, right.
This part where I come around,
Hey.
that's right.
We're all sweaty because it's like 40.
Oh, it's pretty warm.
Look at this.
This is Amy Thomson from Create, Build, Inspire with Tamara Fairy. She's the Enchanted Fairy. And this video is brought to you today by Affirming Arts and the Angel.
Sparkle on.